9-year-old Lena tossed her backpack over one shoulder and stepped off the school bus, sneakers crunching against the gravel road. The air smelled of pine and gasoline, and the late afternoon sun stretched long shadows across the quiet town of Marlow Creek. Her walk home wasn't far, but the street curved along the edge of the woods, where cell signals faded and no one really paid attention. She hummed a tune from music class, hopping over cracks in the pavement, her pigtails swinging with each step. Most kids in her class went home to big houses with front porches and dogs waiting at the door. Lena went home to a rusted trailer with peeling paint, where her aunt worked 2 shifts and barely had time to say hello. She didn't mind. She liked walking. It made her feel free. As she passed an old billboard half covered in vines, something caught her eye. Just ahead, near the ditch, a truck sat crookedly against a tree. Its hood was popped open, smoke drifting lazily from the engine. At first, she thought it was abandoned. Then she saw a shoe. Her steps slowed. A man was lying on the ground beside the truck, one arm stretched awkwardly, face hidden under the brim of a hat. He wasn't moving. Lena froze. She knew what her aunt would say. "Don't talk to strangers. Don't get involved. Just come home safe." But what if he was hurt? She looked up and down the road. Not a car in sight. The gas station was a 5-minute walk in the other direction. Swallowing her fear, she crept closer. "Sir?" she called, her voice barely above a whisper. No answer. She inched forward until she could see his face, pale, sweaty, with a gash along his temple. His jacket looked expensive, but his hands were scraped, and his lips were cracked like he hadn't had water in days. Lena reached into her backpack and pulled out her half-full water bottle. She knelt beside him and gently touched his shoulder. "Hey, can you hear me?" The man groaned softly, shifting his head slightly. She uncapped the bottle and held it to his mouth. He took a slow sip, coughing after the second gulp. His eyes fluttered open. Dark, confused, unfocused. "Where?" He mumbled. "You're hurt," she said, her voice shaking. "I'm gonna get help, okay? Just stay here." The man tried to say something else, but his words fell into a weak mumble. Lena stood quickly and ran, past the billboard, past the turnoff, straight to the gas station where old Pete always sat outside selling scratch-offs. She burst through the door, breathless. "There's a man by the road. He's hurt. I think really bad." Pete blinked, then grabbed the phone behind the counter. An ambulance arrived within 15 minutes. Lena stood across the street, arms crossed tightly over her chest, watching as paramedics rushed toward the truck. They lifted the man onto a stretcher, one of them shouting vitals, another applying gauze to his head. He looked worse in the daylight, like someone who hadn't slept in days. Lena stayed quiet, heart pounding. One paramedic looked around. "Who called this in?" Pete pointed toward Lena. "Kid found him." The paramedic approached her, crouching down to eye level. "You did a good thing. What's your name, sweetheart?" Lena hesitated. "Lena." "You see what happened?" She shook her head. "Just found him like that." "You're really brave, Lena." She didn't respond. Her shoes scraped the ground, and she clutched her backpack tighter. "Do you live nearby?" he asked gently. "Down the road," she mumbled. "Can we call someone for you?" She backed up a step. "I'm okay. I need to get home." He didn't press her, just nodded and handed her a wrapped granola bar. "In case you're hungry. Thanks for helping." She gave a small nod and turned away. The sirens echoed as the ambulance pulled off. Lena watched it disappear down the road, the flashing lights fading into the trees. No one else would know what she did, and that was fine. She walked back toward home, quiet now, her steps slow. Something about the man's face stuck in her head. Like she'd seen it somewhere before, though she couldn't quite place it. As she reached the edge of the trailer park, a breeze rustled through the trees, and she paused. Lena had no idea that the stranger she helped would change her life, and that she had just stepped into a story bigger than anything she could imagine. Beeping monitors echoed softly in the white hospital room. The air smelled like antiseptic and plastic tubing. Rafe blinked against the harsh light, trying to focus as shadows moved around him. A nurse leaned over to adjust something by his head. "You're lucky," she said, not unkindly. "A few more hours in that ditch, and you might not have woken up." Rafe turned his head slightly. Pain spiked down his neck, but he didn't flinch. "How long was I out?" 2, maybe 3 days. "You were severely dehydrated and concussed." He closed his eyes briefly, breathing through the ache in his skull. "Who found me?" "Little girl, we were told," she replied. "Didn't leave a name. Said her name was Lena. She ran off before anyone could thank her." Rafe's brows furrowed. 9 or 10? About that. No last name. Said she lived nearby. His chest tightened, but he said nothing more. As the nurse left, he stared up at the ceiling, memories fuzzy. A small hand, a quiet voice. Water against his lips. He remembered her eyes, clear, steady. She hadn't been afraid. Later that day, his assistant, Milo, arrived with a laptop and phone. Rafe's identity hadn't been publicized yet, at his request. He wasn't ready for reporters. Not yet. "Where'd they find me exactly?" he asked. 2 miles outside Marlow Creek. Country road. "Looks like you went off after the curve." Rafe leaned forward. "And the girl?" Milo adjusted his glasses. "Nothing solid. Paramedics said her name was Lena, but no one got a full name. We talked to the gas station clerk. Old Pete, he said. Lena's a local. Lives in one of the trailers near the Pine Edge." Rafe tapped his fingers on the blanket. "Find her." Milo hesitated. "Sir, you sure that's wise? We don't know her family situation. Might be messy. And you're still recovering." "She saved my life," Rafe interrupted, his voice firm. "She could have walked away. Everyone else did. I want to meet her. I owe her." Milo gave a quiet nod and stepped out. The next morning, 2 black SUVs rolled slowly through the edge of Marlow Creek, drawing glances from porch steps and windows. No one around here drove cars like that unless they were lost or dangerous. Children paused mid-game. A dog barked behind a chain-link fence. Milo stepped out and approached a woman smoking on a porch. Her eyes narrowed at the suit. "We're looking for a girl named Lena. About 9. Short, brown pigtails. Lives around here." The woman blew out a puff of smoke. "Why?" "She helped someone. He'd like to thank her." "You police?" "No, ma'am." She squinted at him. "Try the blue trailer 3 lots down. White curtains. Her aunt's name is Missy." Milo nodded politely and walked off. He returned moments later with a small nod to Rafe, who waited in the back seat. Rafe stepped out slowly, the wind tugging gently at his coat. He stood taller now, but still felt the stiffness in his limbs. As he approached the trailer, the screen door creaked open, and a thin woman stepped out, towel on her shoulder, suspicion in her eyes. "You looking for someone?" Rafe stopped a few feet away. "I believe your niece found me 2 days ago. I wanted to thank her." Missy didn't smile. "She didn't do it for attention." "I know. She doesn't talk to strangers." Neither do I, Rafe said, but I owe her my life. Just then, Lena peeked out from behind the doorframe. Her eyes widened when she saw him. He gave a soft smile. Hi. She stepped out slowly, unsure, like a bird ready to fly. You're the man from the road, she said. I am. You stayed with me, gave me water. Lena looked down at her shoes, mumbling. Didn't think you'd remember. I do, he said. I remember everything. Missy folded her arms. What exactly do you want? Rafe looked at Lena. To say thank you, and maybe ask if you'd visit me sometime. I'd like to talk to you, if that's okay. Lena tilted her head. Why? Because you saw me when nobody else did. She didn't answer right away. Then she gave the faintest nod. Missy sighed behind her. No funny business. Rafe smiled gently. Of course not. As they stood there under the buzzing streetlight, a strange stillness settled between them. It wasn't the end of the moment. It was just the beginning. The next afternoon, Lena sat on the front steps of her aunt's trailer, chewing the end of a red lollipop. A soft breeze stirred the dust across the gravel lot. She kept glancing down the road like she was waiting for something, though she wasn't sure what. When the black car returned, she didn't run. She stood up slowly, brushing crumbs from her jeans. Rafe stepped out, holding a small box in one hand. He looked better, cleaner, stronger, but his eyes were still tired. He approached with careful steps, as if not wanting to scare her. I brought something, he said, holding out the box. Lena hesitated, then took it and opened the lid. Inside sat a walkie-talkie, bright blue with an antenna and a little sticker of a star on the side. I figured if your phone doesn't work, he said with a small smile, we could still talk. She grinned and pressed the button. Testing. Testing. His jacket pocket crackled, and he pulled out the second device. Loud and clear, he answered. From the doorway, Missy watched silently. She didn't smile, but she didn't stop them either. That evening, whispers floated through the trailer park. Questions, rumors, opinions. Kids asked Lena where she got the walkie-talkie. Adults asked Missy why a stranger in a luxury car kept coming around. Some thought it was generous. Others thought it was suspicious. At school, things changed too. Lena's teacher pulled her aside and asked if she needed help with anything. Kids stared longer. One girl accused her of making the whole thing up. I heard he's some kind of criminal, the girl sneered in the lunch line. He's not, Lena snapped, gripping her tray tightly. How do you know? I just do. When Rafe visited again, the crowd grew bolder. A man from a nearby unit stepped out with crossed arms. You the one sniffing around this kid? Rafe turned to face him. I'm here to thank her. That's all. You rich or something? Rafe gave a calm nod. You could say that, the man scoffed. You people don't usually come down here unless there's a camera nearby. I didn't bring one, Rafe replied evenly, and I don't need one to remember what matters. Missy stepped in then, tired of the stares, the muttering, the judgments. I don't care who you are, she told Rafe, but if all this attention brings trouble, it ends here. I understand, he said. Later that night, Lena and Rafe sat on a bench at the edge of the trailer park, facing the woods. The walkie-talkies rested between them. People don't trust you, Lena said quietly. I noticed. She looked at him. Why not? Because sometimes, when someone offers help, people think there's a price. Is there? No. She believed him. Why were you on that road? She asked. I needed to disappear. Why? I forgot how to be myself. She didn't ask more. That answer felt enough. A few days later, the story leaked. A reporter from the local paper published a short piece. Billionaire Rafe Kingston, found in Marlow Creek after disappearance. The article mentioned a child had helped him. Didn't say her name, but the town knew. Soon, cameras showed up. Microphones followed. People who never said Lena's name before were now calling her brave. Stores offered free candy. Teachers beamed when she walked in. But with praise came questions. One morning, as Lena walked into school, 2 reporters stood by the entrance. Are you the girl who saved Rafe Kingston? Did he promise you money? She kept her head down. At home, Missy slammed the door and cursed at the news vans parked near the mailbox. I didn't ask for this, she snapped at one of them. Leave her alone. Inside, Lena watched her aunt pace. They'll move on, Missy muttered. Just stay quiet. Don't say anything. Lena didn't understand. She had done something good. Why did it feel like trouble? That night, the Giwonan walkie-talkie crackled on her nightstand. You still there? Rafe's voice said softly. She picked it up. Yeah. Want to get away for a bit? Where? Just a walk. Somewhere no one's asking questions. She looked toward the door, then back at the device. Okay. They met by the big oak tree near the edge of the lot. No cameras. No voices. Just 2 people who didn't belong anywhere else. Lena sat on the swing behind her school, watching the sky turn orange as the sun dipped below the rooftops. Her feet brushed the dirt with every slow sway. The reporters had left days ago, but their questions still echoed in her head. Every adult she passed seemed to have an opinion about Rafe, about her, about what they thought really happened. She didn't answer any of them. She didn't need to. When Rafe returned, it was quiet. No cameras followed him. His jacket was simple, his shoes dusty. He didn't look like someone who ran a company. He looked like someone who'd been listening. They sat on the school's back steps, watching a squirrel dart across the grass. I have something to give you, he said after a pause. Lena shook her head. I don't want money. It's not money, he said gently, reaching into his pocket. He handed her a folded paper. Curious, she opened it and stared. It was an enrollment letter from Haven Hill Academy, a private school known for its art programs, bookshelves taller than doors, and scholarships no one in Marlow Creek had ever received. She blinked. It's a full ride, Rafe said. Books, meals, supplies, transportation, all of it. Lena looked up slowly. Why? Because you gave me something when I had nothing, he said. You reminded me of who I used to be. She didn't know what to say. Her fingers trembled. Around the paper. My aunt won't believe this, she whispered. She already knows, Rafe said with a soft smile. I asked her first. That night, Missy didn't say much. She just handed Lena a sandwich and sat beside her on the couch. The TV flickered, showing static between channels. You sure you want to do this? Missy asked finally. Lena nodded. I think I do. Missy let out a long breath. Then I'll figure out the rest. For the first time in weeks, Lena slept, without waking up in the middle of the night. A few days later, Rafe returned to the lot, but not to visit her trailer. He was looking at land, unused space on the far edge of town, past the gas station, near the creek. Men in hard hats walked beside him, holding blueprints. He smiled when he saw Lena watching from her bike. Is that for a building? She asked, pointing to the papers. It's for a community center, he said. Somewhere quiet, safe, with books, music, and things people like you should have had a long time ago. Will there be a tree house? He raised an eyebrow. Tree house? She grinned. You promised me something small. He laughed quietly. Then yes, there will definitely be a tree house. A month later, a wooden sign appeared near the road. Lena's Place. Built for the brave. It wasn't flashy. No ribbon-cutting ceremony. Just a soft launch and a quiet promise kept. Kids from all over town came to see it. There were books, art supplies, swings, a rooftop garden. In the back corner, nestled between two tall oaks, stood a tree house with yellow curtains and a blue beanbag chair inside. Rafe visited every Friday. Sometimes he painted with the kids. Sometimes he just listened. One Friday afternoon, Lena sat cross-legged on the floor of the treehouse, reading from a book while Rafe leaned against the wooden frame. She marries him at the end, Lena said, flipping the last page. Even after everything? Rafe asked. She says people are more than their mistakes. He nodded slowly. She's right. Lena looked at him. Do you still think about the day I found you? Every morning, he said without hesitation. It changed everything. I still don't think I did something special. She murmured. You did, he replied. Because you didn't know who I was. You helped me anyway. She smiled, then leaned back and closed her eyes, letting the wind rock the treehouse gently. Somewhere far from the noise of headlines and gossip, a girl with no fame had saved a man with everything, and neither of them needed the world to say, thank you. They had already given each other more than anyone else ever had. And that was enough.